gonna do the review for you guys, and hopefully this won't take too long. I'll go as fast as I can. Okay. Here we go. So minimum values of m of x. Minimum value, when you see minimum, you're looking for vertex, and vertex form would be this one, so that's C. The zeros is when it's in factored form, and so that gives you the 0, so that's B. The y-intercept where x is 0, when you plug in 0, you have to do a whole lot of math for B. When you plug in 0, you have to do a whole lot of like adding, subtracting, squaring, that kind of stuff. If you plug in 0 here, and this goes away, and this goes away, and all you're left with is 15. So that is when x equals 0, that gives you the y-intercept. Okay, perfect square trinomials, divide the middle term by 2, and then just square it to get this. So C is 16. Divide by 2, get negative 3 squared. So C is 9. Negative 1 squared, that's 1. And that's going to be 4. So solve by completing the square. Here we go. So first things first, we're going to subtract 1 from both sides. So we get x squared minus 10x equals negative 1. Complete the square by dividing by 2. That gives us 5. 5 squared gives us 25, so you add 25 to both sides. So we get x squared minus 10x plus 25 is equal to 24. Okay. If you factor this thing right here, you end up with x minus 5 squared equals 24. So to get rid of the square, we square root both sides. So this becomes x minus 5 equals plus or minus root 24. And if you add 5 to both sides, you get x equals 5 plus or minus the square root of 24. But we can simplify 24. If we broke up 24 into a factor tree, this comes out to 6 and 4, which comes out to 3, 2, 2, and 2. So this is x equals 5 plus or minus 2 root 6. Okay, for b, add 5 to both sides. So you get x squared plus 2x equals 12. You cut this in half, so you get 1, and 1 squared is 1, so you add 1 to both sides. So this is x squared plus 2x plus 1 equals 13, or x plus 1 squared equals 13, which means x plus 1, when you square root both sides, is equal to plus or minus root 13, or x equals negative 1 plus or minus root 13. C. Subtract 14 from both sides. X squared plus 8x equals negative 14. So cut this in half, you get 4. 4 squared is 16. So you add 16 to both sides. So this becomes x squared plus 8x plus 16 equals 2. We're going to factor this thing. So this becomes x plus 4 squared equals 2. The way that I know it's x plus 4 without doing any work, you could do, extreme x factor, 16 on the top, 8 on the bottom, 4 and 4. You could do that if you want. But the shortcut is, because it's a perfect square trinomial, if you just cut the b value in half, like I did, excuse me, like I did over here, you're going to get the number inside the parentheses. So x plus 4 squared equals 2. Root both sides, get x plus 4 equals plus or minus root 2. It's plus or minus root 2 because whenever you take the square root, you get two answers, a positive and a negative one. So we subtract 4 from both sides, and x equals negative 4 plus or minus root 2. Okay, for d, add 2 to both sides. So x squared minus 4x equals 8. Cut this in half and square it, so that's negative 2 squared. So add 4 to both sides. Okay. And this becomes, let me open up a little bit of space for myself over here. Okay. So this becomes x squared minus 4x plus 4 equals 12. We're going to factor this guy. This ends up being x minus 2. It's minus instead of plus now because negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2 squared. So x minus 2 squared equals 12. Root both sides. X minus 2 equals plus or minus 12. Root 12. Add 2 to both sides. So you get 2 plus or minus root 12. But we can simplify root 12 just like we did on the other side. This is 2 and 6, and this is 2 and 3. So this becomes 2 plus or minus 2 root 3. Okay, quadratic formula. All right. So this is A, B, and C. So x equals negative b. I'm going to write this on the top so that way we have it. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2. Okay. All right. So let me retry this one over here. So this is going to be a negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 3 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 7 all over 2 times 2. Okay, and that comes out to negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 9 plus 56, 73, all over 4. And that's your final answer. Okay, for B, it's not equal to 0, so you have to make it equal to 0. So we're going to subtract 14 from both sides. So this becomes x squared minus 9x plus 6. So this is x equals negative b, so it's a positive 9 since it was negative to start with, plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is 81, minus 4 times 1 times 6, all over 2. And that comes out to 9 plus or minus the square root of 57, all over 2. And that would be your final answer. Okay, part C. Again, you got to subtract 7 from both sides. So it's x squared minus 8x plus 5. So this is x equals positive 8 because it was negative to begin with, plus or minus the square root of negative 8 squared minus 4 times 1 times 12 all over 2 times 1. And that's 8 plus or minus the square root of 64 minus 48, I believe, is 16. All over 2. And that's actually 8 plus or minus 4 over 2. And we can simplify this as to 8 plus 4 over 2 and 8 minus 4 over 2, which gives us a grand total of 6, 2. So both of these could be our answers. Okay, for D, add 6 to both sides. So this is x squared plus 5x plus 6. So negative b plus or minus square root of 5 squared minus 4 times 1 times 6 all over 2. So that's negative 5 plus the square root of 1 plus or minus 1 over 2. Or negative 5 plus 1 over 2 and negative 5 minus 1 over 2, which comes out to negative 2 and negative 3. Those are both your answers for part D. All right. Solve to determine if there are any real solutions. Okay, there's only one thing you need to know if it's a real solution or not, and all that is this b squared part. B squared minus 4ac. If this number in here is positive, that means it's real. If it's negative, that means it's imaginary. So for this one, if you add 36 to both sides, you get x squared equals 36, or root both sides, x is equal to plus or minus 6. So this is real. That's an easy one. Okay, for this one, don't get sucked into the whole adding things because these both have x's in them. So we're going to factor out an x, and you're left with 3x plus 5. And since we're not dealing with square roots here at all, this is going to be real. The answer is going to be 0 and negative 5/3. For C, so this is the square root of negative 8 squared minus 4 times 1 times 12. And that comes out to a positive 16. So this would be real. Add 5 to both sides, because you can't do anything unless it's equal to 0. X squared plus 10x plus 5. So square root of 10 squared minus 4 times 1 times 5. And that ends up being real. This one, add 64 to both sides. X squared equals 64. And that's going to end up being a real number. This one, 2x squared minus 7x. I just subtracted 7x from both sides equals 0. And this is x times 2x minus 7 equals 0, which is real. So, wow, they're all real numbers. Okay, number 8. First thing, distribute. So 7 plus 3i plus 15 minus 27i. Combine like terms. The numbers are like terms, so 7 plus 15 is 22. The i's are like terms, so 3i minus 27i is negative 24i. Done. distribute both of them. Don't forget to distribute the whole thing, the negative as well. So this is 8 plus 32i minus 24 plus 6i. Again, you have to add like terms. So 8 minus 24 is negative 16. 32i plus 6i is plus 38i. And for this one, 3 times 8, that's 24. I times I, that's I squared. And we all know that I squared is equal to negative 1. Or negative 24 is our answer. Oh my god, there's more. Okay. Sorry guys, I'm really tired. But fighting through it, we'll get it done. Okay, for this one, double distribute. 6 times 2, that's 12. 6 times negative 3 is negative 18i. 4i times 2 is plus 8i. 4i times negative 3i is negative 12i squared. So that's 12. Actually, let's do the I squared first. I squared is equal to negative 1, so that's negative 12 times negative 1, or a positive 12. So 12 plus 12 is 24. Negative 18i plus 8i is negative 10i. Okay. For E, double distribute. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times negative I is negative 2i. Negative 3i times 5 is negative 15i. Negative 3i times negative I is a positive 3i squared. But that I squared turns it negative, so it's 10 minus 2i minus 15i minus 3, because that's 3 times negative 1. 10 minus 3 is 7. Negative 2 minus 15 is negative 17i. Okay, for this, multiply top and bottom by I. So 12 times I is 12i. 8i times I is 8i squared. So that's 12i over negative 8, because I squared is negative 1. And if you reduce this, you get negative 3 halves I. Okay, so multiply I top and bottom again. 8i over 20 I squared, which is 8i over negative 20, which comes out to negative 4 over, negative 2 over 5i. Okay, for h, multiply top and bottom by I. Big shocker. So I times 7i, that's 7i squared. I times 12 is plus 12i. And 8i times I is 8i squared. So this is negative 7 plus 12i all over negative 8. And if you split this up, you do the real numbers first. Negative 7 divided by negative 8 is positive 7/8. Then you do the imaginary part. 12i divided by 8, that's negative 3i over 2. Okay, for number 1, you can do it the same method. I'm going to do it a different method for other people who are watching. So you can split this up into 3 over 12i minus 6i over 12i. The first part reduces to 1 over 4i. Next part reduces to negative 1/2. So this is equal to negative 1/2. Because I is on bottom, you multiply top and bottom by I. And you get minus I over 4. Okay, why is that not weird? happening? Huh. Well, that's awkward. So, whoops. Let's see, what do I want? I want this part. So, I guess the only thing we can do is this one. So from 3 to 6, 6 to 12, 12 to 24, what's happening is that we're multiplying by 2. And since you are multiplying by 2 every time, when you multiply by the same number over and over again, this would be an exponential function, c. Grr. That's annoying. Alright. So now we're looking at the 13, number 13. I got a print screen, go to paint. Okay. Alright. So select the graph that matches this. So basically, you just got to know the graph of f of x equals x squared. That's a positive function. So we know right away it has to be, can't be b. Okay, can't be this one. And then negative x plus 2. So it has to go through the y-axis at 2. Okay, but it has a slope, so it can't be c. And since this slope right here is a negative slope, it should be going down. So your answer is going to be D. All right. So 14. Find all solutions to this. So for this one, since the lines don't cross each other at all, it doesn't happen. That means that there are no solutions. Since the graph crosses in 2 places, it crosses here and here at x equals 0 and x equals 5. Your answer is going to be C. Okay. Okay, so this is the graph of the function. The points b comma 3. So we're looking for these points right here where the y-axis is at 3. So these 2 spots. Okay. So b is between negative 12 and negative 11. Well, it's actually more like between negative 2 and 1. So that would be D. And then C right here ends up being between positive 2 and positive 1. Okay. 17. It is a scatter plot. It is a quadratic function, and it's a happy quadratic function. It's going like this. So that means it's not A because A is linear. That's a line. It's not this because it has a negative in front. That would be a sad function. So that graph would look like this. It's not this function because that's an exponential that just goes straight up. So your answer is C because it's a happy, positive quadratic function. Okay. Determine the equivalent functions to these guys. So here we go. You get x squared minus 12x plus 10. And so that's equal to f of x. So first off, subtract 10 from both sides, and you get f of x minus 10 equals x squared minus 12x. Complete the square by cutting this in half, getting negative 6 and squaring it to get plus 36 on both sides. So this is f of x f of x plus 26 equals x squared minus 12x plus 36. Then we're going to factor this. So this is f of x plus 26 equals x minus 6 squared. And we finish it up by subtracting 26 from both sides. So f of x equals x minus 6 squared minus 26. Final answer. Okay. All right, last problem. Bedtime. Okay, so here's the height of the ball, here's the function. So it wants to know how long does it take to reach its maximum height. So we're going to do vertex formula, negative b over 2a. So this is negative 96 over 2 times a negative 16. So that's negative 96 divided by negative 32, which comes out to a positive 3. So this would be 3 seconds. For the next part, what is the maximum height? You just take this number and plug it in. So negative 16 times 3 squared plus 96 times t, or 3, plus 100. So that's negative 16 times 9 plus 288 plus 100. Well, that's negative 144 plus 288 plus 100 for a grand total of 244 feet. Okay, and that's how you do it. Any questions, feel free to send me an email, and I'll get back to you ASAP. See you guys.